This is Therapy Dudes 2.0. We are serious. We are going to have a disciplined conversation. And because
Oh,
of that, we are rolling out some options for our new song. Andre, are you ready for song number two?
I'm so ready.
Okay.
Let's do it.
This
Okay.
this is going to be good. I stand behind this one. The last one was a little like tongue in cheek by being silly in my mind. I was trying to make a silly song that was about being serious. But
You can't help it.
this one, I think, right, I can't help it. But I'm not lying. I think this one is head and shoulders above the last one, even though the
Mm,
last one was pumping.
okay.
All
Let's
right,
listen.
here we go.
Therapy dudes. New chapter. Breathe in. It gets serious. It gets serious. Pull up chairs, this is session one. Every crack in the armor, see it in the sun. We're so serious, no joke, no spin. Tracing every tension point to what's deep within. Culture sets the tone, psychology in view. Philosophy on board, therapy for you. We press where it hurts to liberate expertise. Ask why you flinch, help you find inner peace. These are the tension points. Therapy dudes breaking through all the mess we wear till we find what's true. Psych philosophy, culture. We explore it all. Tension points, tension points. Time to answer the call. Scrolling on your phone, only stress on your mind. Time to break it down, take a look at what you find. Childhood ghost, getting in your way. There's no need to escape, there's a much brighter day. We name the fear, lay the pattern flat. Ask who taught you that story and who profits off that. This is deep breath work for a world off key. We're not here for comfort, we're here to set you free. These are the tension points. Therapy goes breaking through all the mess we wear till we find what's true. Psych philosophy, culture. We explore it all. Tension points, tension points. Time to answer the call. Time to answer the call.
Wow.
I know, stunning, right? Amazing.
Your voice gets better and better.
It gets
Um,
better.
wow. So that was long, but I liked it a lot.
It is too long for
I,
an
but
everyday kind of intro song. But
I don't know. Maybe if we had more viewers, they could chime in and say if it was too long, but we could do like a vote.
oh, they're not
Um,
going to want to hear that every time, right? That might be the best for like an outro, but the intro would have to be like a very short thing. And the
that was good. Good job.
I mean, was like I actually okay, so just to put it out there
Mm,
and pat
hmm
myself on the back.
You deserve many pats.
That was I took the original thing that AI came up with
Hmm
and kept like modifying the lyrics, and then eventually it had like four different versions of the song, and I liked pieces from each one of them. So then I had to go on GarageBand and like and just
Oh,
work it. So I
that's why that happened. And it works. It flows really well.
yeah, I like pushed all these pieces in and finally got it to where I was like, all right, that's good. But it is, I would absolutely agree, like too long, and it's we've got to figure out something for that.
You're a
And like,
genius.
I'm not even wedded to it. It was just fun for me to
I
make.
like
And
it. I want it.
well, I think it's in terms of what I could do with AI and GarageBand, that's kind of like I feel like that's a representative offer. Like we could keep messing around with the concept or the sounds of the words, but it's not it's not going to get appreciably better than that kind of thing.
Just so the viewers know how talented you are and how intelligent you are, because I riff on you a lot, but I don't think many people realize this about you. You took the LSAT for fun and passed it. You killed it. Do people know this about you? Can we brag about that for a little bit? That's what you did like last year? Just for
Okay.
fun.
Yes, let's
Just for
brag on
fun.
it for a little bit. Yeah, yeah. No, I got the 90th percentile. I'm just gonna
What
boast
the hell?
right now. Yeah, yeah. But I took a bunch of practice tests and I had a lot of time because I wasn't under time pressure. So I probably did 11 or 12 practice tests because I was trying to get in the 90th percentile, and
So
I like
cool.
nailed it, which was awesome. So yeah, if
So
I
you're
did
going to
it here,
represent me the next time I'm in legal issues.
yes,
Hopefully that never happens, but you're going to represent me.
yes, happy to do it. But that was, I mean, in part, I think I need to give myself cognitive challenges because otherwise it gets a little like cobwebby and rusty in there. And I want to like keep putting stuff out that is like a good challenge, which was in part like why I started messing with, GarageBand and doing songs to begin with, which was our original amazing intro and outro.
I don't remember it that way, but
You don't?
I'm kidding.
You
Oh
don't? You don't
no.
remember
Oh
this?
no.
You don't remember this at
I thought
all?
we lost it.
I found it.
When you're mad or sad or
Oh
feeling
no.
blue, and
That is your
everybody's
voice.
mad at
This
you,
is my voice.
you're anxious and there's drama too. The therapy dudes are here
It's
for
so
you.
good. So good.
It's good for what we had at the time.
Yeah.
It's good for like, up to eighth grade.
All right. So we're gonna do a hard shift in tone.
Okay,
I need you with me on this one.
I'm here.
And we're gonna get back to working with strategies to just kind of handle
Yeah.
injuries and those kinds of like physical setbacks so that we're able to kind of keep our day structured and keep our mental game and the way that we kind of work with mood or stressful thoughts or intrusive thoughts so that we can kind of like actually manage the situation and meet the challenge and not just really get bummed out, which
Yeah.
I got to say on a certain level I think is just it's part of it, right? Like that's like we want to try to figure out how to have some level of being okay and accepting that like this is going to be a little bit of a funk or maybe a lot, and that's normal, and it doesn't mean there's anything actually like wrong with our mind that we're less happy or down on ourselves. Like it's not like the root of the
Nothing to
problem.
judge.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The root of the problem is that we're injured and there's a strong mind body connection, and it has an impact on our mood. We're just trying to, do what we can to manage it and keep it at a functional place.
Okay.
But if we're injured and then we get down on ourselves, that just seems like a function of injury. It's not like, oh, now we have another problem that is like rooted in our mind, right? It's like, no, that's just how the mind is kind of wired and how the mind body sort of work together. And
Yeah.
we don't need to like over worry about like a global collapse. Like we will eventually get back on track.
That's true.
So do you have experiences with clients that have had a significant enough sort of physical injury that it's kind of thoroughly gotten them off their game, their functionality with like work or school or, getting out in the world?
I haven't really, so I draw in a lot of young men in my private practice, and that's primarily who I work with, and then couples and stuff like that. I haven't really gotten anyone who's been severely injured or struggling with anything chronic or long term like that. But I have had clients that, I see this as almost like a loss of identity. I've had clients that lose like a career or something like that. That's kind of what it feels like, is like, this is a shift. This is something I'm going to lose. I need, what do I do now? What does my life look like now? It depends on how bad the injury is, right? But
Yeah.
I just would imagine that it's similar in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Losing
I,
relationships. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's really important to be planning out one day at a time in these situations to
Yeah.
really be thoughtful about what you said in the last podcast, which is like figuring out what other things can replace what's been lost in terms of like opportunities to do things that are on your list that you might not have had time for otherwise, and to really try to get specific about when that's going to happen, and to like connect with the meaning and the, allow ourselves to dwell in the sort of like reward and satisfaction of doing something that we weren't doing before, and that is like a new activity, and that we've pushed through our resistance to make that happen, and acknowledging ourselves.
Yeah.
I think setting like small daily goals in terms of whatever rehab needs to happen is useful. And that's where I'm at now, is that there's one particular machine where I can tell the difference between what's going on in my leg on the right side versus my leg on the left side. And I'm waiting until they feel the same, right? Like that's going to be my indication that I'm like healed. And I could barely do this machine on the right side
Oh,
after I was initially injured. And now I'm like 80 or 90% back. Like it's workable. If I hadn't been previously injured and this was just a little like tweak, I would play through it and just be like, oh, I'm fine. But given that I know it's like a sign of like other stuff and I want to be like fully healed,
yeah.
that's my barometer of it's got to be perfect. And
Okay.
I'm waiting on that. But that also motivates me to get to the gym. And having my car gone means that there's an extra opportunity to get a little low impact cardio on the elliptico on my way to the gym and back, which is like, it's all a combined positive thing. Right. I did that yesterday as a like example of just go to the gym to get my workout, but elliptico both ways. And it was like a very full kind of comprehensive workout, cardio, and like conditioning. And I feel like if I can keep with that, I should be in a good place.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
By next week, by next Friday, you're going to see me there.
Okay. Finally.
That finally, right? That's the goal. Or Tuesday if you show up. I might try to make it on Tuesday as well.
Okay. I might do that.
Okay.
But okay, so kind of break down like how you would walk someone through this experience that you're having, like a client. What
Yeah.
would be the
Well,
stages?
no, I literally had this right now, and I think kind of naming some of the thoughts and the intrusive thoughts and the experiences that they were having in terms of like their mood was an important piece. Naming it and normalizing it, right? That like being depressed and feeling hopeless is very common, and that's not a further sign of like, oh, like now we have an additional problem. Like I was saying, it's like, no, the injury and the way that our kind of mind relates to that is naturally going to bring some of these thoughts and feelings, and that's okay. We just want to
Yeah.
understand that and understand the
It's like naming it to tame it. You name like what's going on to keep it like present. Like this is why I'm feeling this way.
right. And it also helps us, I think, to understand how to work with those thoughts and feelings, because they're not rooted in much, right? It's not like, oh, geez, you have a big problem with like depression in this case. It's like, no, this is going to be situational for a couple of weeks. As your body heals, you're going to be back on track. And that's a little different, because a lot of times by like throwing activities at what you're doing, or just by like reframing thoughts or getting ourselves like distracted, that might work in a temporary way, but it might not solve the underlying roots of why we're depressed. And in this case with an injury, I think it's kind of, well, we don't need to go like super deep, right? We don't have to be like, well, like at the root of this all, what is, it's like we know what the root of it is, and that if we get like a couple weeks down the road, we ought to be feeling better. If somehow we, do get a couple weeks down the road and aren't feeling better, and the like depression just kind of maintains, then there's something different going on, and we want to work with that in a different way. But
Right.
I feel like just kind of understanding that this is probably a pretty situational temporary thing, makes it easier to brainstorm like, okay, how can I distract myself, fill my day with other kinds of activities, focus on other things, try to like maintain structure and good routines, and especially like social routines. I think it's really easy to kind of get in our head when we're down and
Yeah.
to then be like isolated and not really getting a break from our own mind. So
Mhm.
trying to like keep that social stuff up, I think is a big deal.
Absolutely. So, okay. So if we're doing all that, what do you think is the most important thing to focus on when you're struggling with injury and um I don't know, the kind of like the story that comes up from injury that we can create sometimes about our lives and where it's headed?
Right. I know for me that kind of breaking down the rehab process and thinking in terms of little tiny goals was more useful. Like in the first few days, it was like, all right, what can I do to make sure that I'm getting some movement in my body so that I'm just kind of loosening things up? And that the goal was, I want to be able to sleep through the night and not have this like pain that's making it uncomfortable and keeping me awake. And that was something that for like the first, I don't know, 4-ish days was the focus. And I could tell each day it was getting like a little bit better and that I needed to like do just, sort of small, gentle movement activities during the day and to like ice it and to take some ibuprofen before I went to bed at night and, just kind of keep those routines of self care going so that I wasn't like just every night just being like, oh man, this still hurts and not really like tracking it, but
Yeah.
just having it make myself miserable, right? The goal was there. And then as that level of pain subsided, it was like, all right, get to the gym every day, right? If I'm doing that, I'm doing good rehab and good self-care. And I knew what to like avoid at the gym so that I wouldn't make it worse. But I also knew that I needed to give my body a good workout so that I wasn't like getting stiff and sore and like, just losing mobility and muscle mass.
Yeah.
So that was kind of part two. And I think now I'm at the point where I'm mostly back and the two things on my mind are to like keep my physical routines intact so that I'm not just like how I don't know, I do this a lot where it's like I'm going to stretch and do my core exercises and stuff when I'm really injured, but as soon as I start feeling better I get sloppy with that. I'm trying to not get sloppy with that, and I'm
Okay.
also trying to not jump back in too fast to bigger physical activities because I just think that that's a recipe for like making this more chronic and re-injuring myself. And I've been there, done that. That was like a common thread in my 30s of like just getting myself barely the point of being like over an injury and then just like racing back to whatever activities I wanted to do and then just pushing and getting injured again and just having that like cycle over and over.
Yeah.
And I'd rather not be there. So I think there's been that trajectory and that helps with the narrative, because if the narrative is like everything's ruined, it's like, no, I'm trying to break it down to like day by day, just having micro improvements. Like, am I a
Right.
little better off than yesterday?
Right.
Have
And
I?
not fixating on a time frame or telling yourself a story about what it needs to look like.
Yeah, yeah. And the piece that you brought up about like bringing in other activities that I wouldn't necessarily have time to do has been significant. It's been harder to motivate, no doubt, like harder to motivate because there is this like kind of in the
Yeah.
background. I can tell that my mind is just a little bit more agitated around small triggers, right? I just
That makes sense. It makes me think of the concept of behavioral activation that like can you explain what that is? And can you explain like how it works? And
behavioral
uh,
activation.
yeah,
If I
and how it
Google
works in the
it,
yeah. What'd you say?
I said, if I Google it, I could explain it. I don't know. You got to explain it. You introduced the term. That's on you to like,
Well,
you
I'm just
can't.
looking at your notes. So I was really excited about it.
Oh no.
I'm assuming that behavioral activation is pushing past the motivator, the lack of motivation to do things, and eventually that motivation kicks in when you start doing things. So behavioral activation would probably look like, this is why Nike has that motto, just do it.
Just do it.
Because
Yeah.
you just got to do it sometimes because your motivation doesn't always come first. To like what,
Okay.
for example, working out in general, if people haven't worked out in years, they're not going to trust me, you're not going to get the motivation. No matter how many times you look in the mirror and feel like you want to change things. The motivation is going to come from prolonged activity, like consistent activity, the behavioral changes that you put. Eventually, your body and your psyche says, I want to do that because I'm used to doing that. I'm expecting that.
Got it. Okay. I'm dialed in now to
Okay.
that meaning. And it kind of goes back to CBT tools where the CBT view is that an emotional experience can be broken down into our thoughts or cognitions, our actions or our behaviors, and our feelings, our like sensory experiences. And that if we change one of those, we change the whole emotional experience. So,
Right.
particularly around things like being motivated to get something done versus bed rot and doom scrolling, that kind of like change a behavior, right? Do something that's going to like get us into an activity, get us active is a key. And it's really easy to have our lizard brain resist that, right? We can be like, well, I could go for a walk around the block, or I could go clean out the refrigerator, or whatever it is.
Hmm.
And this is where I think it's important to understand how our lizard brain is actively playing defense against anything that is out of the normal routine, right? It pushes back on it because it just wants to get immediate pacification and satisfaction without any kind of like delay of gratification for some long-term goal. So it just wants to scroll, sleep, eat sugary food, do whatever is going to be something that just has these immediate dopamine rewards.
Pleasurable.
Yeah, yeah. And when it thinks of something like, oh, well, you could go clean out your car, it's just like, and then it'll come up with like stupid lizard brain logic, like, but then you'd have to like find the vacuum. And it's like, well, we know where the vacuum is, but it's like, but it might be behind a box, right? It'll just come up with stuff
It
that
will
is
come up with stuff.
nonsense. Yeah.
But
And
the good thing is, once you start doing, this is why behavioral activation is actually really important, is that the brain likes closure. There are certain exceptions, like people who are super ADHD, sometimes they'll fixate on one thing and then they'll move to another. That's a little bit different. But um, typically, the brain wants closure. So when you start something, like for me, if I start cleaning, I'll notice all the areas that need to be cleaned, and I can't just clean one area.
yeah,
Like I'll finish because I started, right?
yeah,
Um, it the brain wants to close loops. So if you introduce something and you're actively working on it, typically that's just going to take over.
right, right, right. If you're like folding your laundry, you're gonna fold all the laundry. If you're doing the dishes, you're gonna get the whole load done, right? Like that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I feel like that's a nice thing. And it's also a nice awareness of how our mind works, which is if we take that like flashlight idea that our consciousness is like a vast cave and our flashlight is what we focus on. Once we've started focusing on that activity, the lizard brain's resistance kind of fades into the background because it's not like good at just sort of fixating and holding on one thought once there's like new stimulus getting introduced. So if you can get out of the gate for a couple minutes on like say dishwashing, and it's like, all right, I'm going to put like 3 mugs in the dishwasher. Usually that starts to like snowball into like, okay, I can put in a few pieces of silverware, and then before we know it, we're kind of like, getting our way
We're
through.
there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think that's a really good awareness that like once we've started, the brain wants that closure. So it's like getting over the initial resistance and questioning it, because it's such BS resistance. But the problem with our lizard brain is that once it has a thought, before we judge it, we get an emotional hit as if the thought was true. And so we just feel like, I don't want to do that because I just had this thought that I don't want to do that. And then we actually like feel it. And then we're like, blah, before we even like hold it up and be like, wait, that's ridiculous. Like what I really don't want to be doing is lying around in the bed all day doing squat.
Right. Yeah.
On tonight, I'm
The
going to
lizard brain is what prevents you from doing anything you want to do. It's not, that's why the antidote is always action, in my opinion,
yeah. Yeah.
because action activates a different part of your brain. And now you're moving towards motivation. And now you're activating a reward system because you're doing something that you actually see as valuable or intrinsically worthy of your time, you know?
Yep. Yep. There's a great book by Mary Piper called Reviving Ophelia. It's about like helping adolescent girls. And I want to give her credit for the quote that action is the antidote to despair.
Yes.
Right. We need to do something. It feels better in such a good way. And despair can kind of reinforce itself. That like overthinking and walling makes us feel bad and we get kind of stuck. So we want to interrupt it.
I've always thought of it that way, that like action is the antidote to despair, because what we're really saying is you're in flight, fight, or freeze, or fawn. They also have that these days. But
Fun.
what you're doing is you know what fawning is? It's like I do it all the
Oh,
time. I did it.
fawn. I thought you said
Yeah.
fun. I was like, what are you talking about?
Well, fun just it fixes everything, but that's the problem. We don't know how to constantly have fun. Um, but like the spirit of despair is freeze, right? It's I can't do anything. It's like this hopelessness. So action proves to you subconsciously and in a very tangible, measurable way that things can be different, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Despair loves having you stay there.
Yeah. I know we gotta wrap here. We were all over the place. These were actually very fun podcasts for me because I got to introduce the new songs. There was some fun banter. And it's important for me to be exploring how I'm relating to this injury, because I am actually like, it's been a full 3 weeks. Today is like the 3-week anniversary
Yeah, I have not seen you.
of the injury. Yeah.
You just disappeared.
And it's been a bit of a journey, and it's been helpful, right? I've had like other people that I've talked to a little bit about it, but it's been helpful to just sort of air this out in more detail. And I think having that like opportunity and space to, find a friend like Andre and be able to just kind of share what's going on a deeper level can be really, really useful. And I hope anybody that's going through something similar finds their way through it, and that perhaps what we talked about today might offer a few other tips for how to work with it.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. We got to run. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe. I'm going to play the outro, and then I'm going to hit the stop record button. So
you're going to do it.
I'm going to nail it.
Okay. Wow. I'm proud.
Thank you.
Therapy dudes, take away your stress, put you in a good mood. If you had a